nice group I have up here. Did you know that Hawaii used to be called the Sugar Islands? For almost 200, do you know that? Okay, for almost 200 years, Hawaii supplied the rest of the world with sugar. And it all started on our island on Hawaii and in Koloa. As the number of sugar companies multiplied in Hawaii, there were not enough people to work the cane fields, so they brought in immigrants from China, Japan, the Philippines, Portugal, Spain, Puerto Rico. For some of them, it took them 5 to 6 months to get here. Just imagine being on a boat, rocking and rolling, 5 to 6 months. Yeah. Christian missionaries were already coming to Hawaii at that time. They had started schools for Hawaiian kids. And in fact, there were so many schools, they ran out of books, paper, and writing utensils. Kids were writing in the sand, if you can imagine. And some were using their surfboards as guests. And missionaries eventually built the old Koloa Church, the first church in this area. Then a very special man, a missionary by the name of Dr. James Smith, came and was the only Western-trained doctor for 40 years. There were no roads, no cars, so he rode horseback on paths to visit the sick people. And he swam with his horse over rivers and streams. He helped start Koloa School, and due to his efforts, it became the first government school on Hawaii. Some of you here are great-great-grandchildren of those immigrants. For many, times were rough, but not as rough as it was in their home countries, and the climate was better in Hawaii. When you ask people who grew up here, they remembered the good times and their many friends. It was a close-knit society. When a baby was born, their neighbors would come and bring with food and gifts. On baby's first birthday, you didn't invite people, they just came. Their children went to Koloa School. Many came from far away, Omau, Lawai, or New Mill Camp. And they came on horseback with as many kids as would fit on a horse. How many kids do you think would fit on a horse? 3, 4? Yeah, I think so. Others walked barefooted to school. Once at school, some girls would wash their feet in the horse trough and then put on their shoes and socks and go to class. At first, there was no cafeteria, so students brought lunches from home and shared them out at the schoolyard. Even today, these folks enjoy eating the various types of foods. The younger children, they brought beach mats and they would lay down on the school lawn and take their naps. The teachers would come around and scold them if they talked too much. Sleep, no talk story, they would say. I got the opportunity to talk to several people who remembered those days. Julie Souza remembers when the school burned down. The sad part was that the school burned, but everybody would say, if you were a dumb kid, all of your records burned, and you would get new ones if you were dumb or not. Former owner of Suioka store, Ernie Suioka, told me this story of his growing up. For clothing, we maybe had 3 pairs of trousers at the most every year to last us for the whole year. By the end of the year, we had high water. That was and he indicated right below the knee. So they had patches, not for show, but real patches. Soda pop was only on a special occasion. We had to buy it, but there was no money in those days. It was a nickel a soda pop. So for many, they had 1 soda pop a year. Just imagine. But they shared their stories and what they did for fun. Linda Hans Baldwin remembers they had no garbage disposal then. She and her playmates used to take the slop down to the pig pen. Her story gives us a new meaning to the expression, riding piggyback. we would take the pig slop that everybody had down to the pig pens. And sometimes the old Filipino man would tie ropes around the bellies of the big sows and let us ride them, hanging onto the ropes. Maybe 3 or 4 kids on one big sow. We always used to run through the cane fields and make sure we put on long-sleeved shirts and pants. We encountered big cane spiders. Isn't that scary? It obviously wasn't a big deal. The cane spiders were huge, and they were in the house. They were part of our lives. Another thing we did was we used to raise slugs. Now, a slug is like a snail, but without the shell. And they don't move very fast. So, how do you raise slugs? Very slowly. We collected a whole bowl of slugs, and because they were everywhere, we had smooth cement, and we sat there, a whole bunch of us kids, sitting out there and watching the slug races. Isn't that exciting? Yeah. Lily Suioka said, I remember there used to be a small leather pouch with a zipper on one side. They called it Bull Durham bags. And after the tobacco was gone, they would give us the pouches. We would fill it with grass and use it as a ball. And we would run around playing and trying to hit each other with that pouch. Many said they tied the Bull Durham bags onto the water faucet to filter out the debris. The water came from the stream that flowed past the pig pen and the cattle ranch, but nobody got sick. They would wash out the bag every couple of months. Don Cataluna said we used to get pieces of cardboard and slide down the hill. It was good grass to slide on, but you had to watch what you were doing because you could drop down, and it was a mean drop, at least 60 feet or so. You could get hurt. According to Mercy Ramada, growing up for fun, we played baseball in the cattle pasture. And we had hiked to Poipu via the pastures with water pools to swim. There was a horse stable down below the reservoir, and we used to eat the pineapple cores from the food truck for the horses. The horses weren't interested in eating them. In our camp, we played marbles and made slingshots from guava branches and detached rubber strips from tires as the slings. Mama Kanashiro said we used to fly all sorts of kites. We'd make them out of paper and bamboo strips. And they used to fly them high in the sky. And Ernie Suaoka said there were never any organized sports for the kids. The only thing they had in those days, in the 30s, was barefoot football for the older kids. Can you imagine kicking a football with your bare feet? Ouch. Niles Kageyama said, when I was growing up, we had a lot of large youth groups because we really didn't have any place to go. Many of our parents did not attend church, but they liked the fact that we were in church and were not getting into trouble. Niles later became pastor at the Keone Missionary Church. Ernie Suioka said, you can't pass on those things because they won't believe us, what we went through. My children don't believe me when I say that we went through high school barefooted, and we had soda pop only on special occasions. I don't know how you can pass that on to them because they won't believe those things that happen. If you were lucky enough to have a great auntie or uncle or grandma or grandpa, ask them if to tell you the stories, what it was like growing up on the sugar plantation.